Kent's thriving drink industry. That is the title of today's show. Hello and welcome along to Scale Up Stories. It's Ben here from Digital Beans, another Digital Beans podcast in collaboration with Produced in Kent, as we celebrate the Kent food and drink industry. Of course, thanks to the Taste of Kent Awards. You can go online and check out this year's finalists at tasteofkentawards.co.uk. That's tasteofkentawards.co.uk. Some fantastic categories, and we've got some fantastic businesses and business owners to speak to over the coming weeks between now and the date of the virtual ceremony this year. I hope you're well. I hope you're staying safe. And I hope you're ready for two fantastic guests on today's podcast. We're going to be looking at the Kent Non-Alcoholic Drink of the Year category and the Kent Spirit of the Year category. Now, a couple of weeks back, you would have noticed when myself and Florida went through the categories, we picked out the Kent Non-Alcoholic Drink of the Year category as a very much coffee dominated category, and the same with the Kent Spirit of the Year because it's very much gin dominated this year. So I'm really excited to learn more from two fantastic business owners from two incredible businesses right here in Kent. Of course, we have Stephen Russell of Copper Rivet Distillery. I don't know why I stumbled on that. Of Copper Rivet Distillery, of course, based right there at Chatham Dockside. I'm really, really excited, and we had a great conversation to kick off our chat about their historic premises, and you're going to learn all about that very, very shortly. And of course, from Garage Coffee, we've got Luke on with us later on today as well. And actually, no, we're going to kick start with Luke, I think, today, because there's a lot of coffee lovers out there. I'm one of them. I've just finished my mug of coffee now. The non-alcoholic drink of the year category is very prestigious, and they've been very busy, Garage Coffee. They've grown incredibly over the past couple of years, and Luke and his team have done a fantastic job. But you know what's great, I think, about coffee in Kent? It's not just about the businesses. There's some fantastic coffees out there. There's a real passion, and there's real passion from the business owners to put Kent coffee at the forefront of some of the most delicious coffees throughout the UK and even Europe. And the way that they create their coffee is a truly remarkable story. And it really is made with love. So I started off my chat with Luke, the owner of Garage Coffee, about where his love of coffee came from.
Yeah, I mean, I think I back in the day, I did a degree in hospitality management, and when I moved back to Kent, I kind of thought, you know what, there's not enough good coffee in the area, and hence the inspiration to start a coffee roastery. Kind of a hobby, and then the hobby went wrong, and we've kind of kept going along that path, and now busy coffee roastery, and 3 shops later, it's a great position to be in.
Tell us a little bit about those times when you're roasting and you're trying to get it right and they've gone wrong. Have you hit a couple of hurdles on the way?
Yeah, absolutely. I think every business owner will tell you they come across hurdles along the way, and this is no different. I think I remember back to that first moment where I'd given up my full-time job and standing in front of the coffee roaster thinking, oh my God, I don't even know if I really know what I'm doing, but kind of knew what I wanted to create. Unfortunately, we were buying really good quality beans, and they were turning out okay, and in the end, customers loved them, so that helped.
What I love, obviously, is you've got the cafes, as you've mentioned, then you've got the coffee shops. You've also you're selling your roasts as well, and you're doing that really successfully online with subscriptions. So you've pivoted as well to be able to embrace both sides, having the face-to-face custom and the online custom as well. But for anyone out there who doesn't know much about Garage Coffee, just tell us a little bit about your story and a little bit of where you're at now. Yeah,
so we are specialty coffee roasters. As I said, we started about 5 years ago, 2015, so coming up for 6 years ago. Inspired by the kind of the desire to serve great coffee to people in Kent. We started off as wanting to be an online business, really. It was going to focus on that letterbox friendly packaging and coffee through the letterbox, which is a really cool idea and still is a part of our business. But as more and more kind of people spoke to us, realized that we could supply coffee shops, and ultimately my background in hospitality led to me wanting to open coffee shops as well. So we're now supplying into about 50 different wholesale customers around Kent, and we've also got our 3 shops in one in Canterbury, one in Whitstable, and one in Margate, all serving really good coffee and really delicious cakes that we bake in-house as well. So it's a very exciting time, and coffee is one of those, wonderful products. I was lucky enough to go to Colombia at the beginning of last year before the pandemic hit. So it was great to meet some of the farmers that we've been working with over the last few years. And really, it's all about sharing that great journey of specialty coffee and making sure that people know how they can access really good quality coffee. And actually, it doesn't really cost a huge amount more, but the difference you make is huge.
I've got so many off-script questions here that I really want to ask. So I'm going to ask, we'll come back to the hospitality sector in a minute, obviously, as someone who's immersed in it and someone who had to obviously close over the past 12 months and then reopen and then close again. We'll get your thoughts on that. But talking there about your roasters and the trip to Colombia and, you know, you say your speciality roasters, of course, you're based right here in Kent. A lot of the things you do is local. But tell us about that process of creating your coffee.
Yeah, so I think from the very beginning, it was always going to be about great quality, and great quality is embedded within a specialty market. So specialty coffee, for anyone who doesn't know, is that kind of top 10% quality-wise in the world, and it means we're paying a lot more than the base rate for coffee, roughly 25% more than the fair trade rate, but also the quality comes out in the taste of the coffee. So lots of lovely elements to it. It means kind of naturally all of our coffees are fully traceable, so we can literally trace all our products right back to the farm, right back to the farmers who grow them, and we know that the community is invested in it and the positive changes it makes. So that's been really important for us, really, in creating this brand, and it's what people love to talk to us about, and it's what we love to talk about ourselves. And I always think, you know, if you're doing your own business or running your own business or creating something, you want to be passionate about that produce and passionate about the product that's in it. We can't grow coffee in Kent, but we can roast really good coffee in Kent. And to be part of that is amazing.
What is the roasting process for anyone out there who doesn't know about it?
Yeah, sure. So the roasting process really is, so we source green coffee beans. They come in big 60 kg or 70 kg sacks. And we roast in small batches of 12 kg. Basically, we put into a kind of rotating drum that's over a flame. We'll roast that coffee for about 12 to 15 minutes, and what comes out is the delicious coffee that we know and love. We cool that down, cools down for about 5 to 10 minutes, and then after that, we get ready to package it up and get it ready to be shipped out to our customers and to our shops and whoever else wants to drink it, really.
See, it's when you hear these processes that makes coffee a totally different product than that product that you see off the shelf that you buy every now and then, whether you go for the cheap coffee or you go for the expensive coffee. It's this love, care and attention from local brewers like yourself and you know, local people like yourself that are roasting these beans and you know, bringing out the flavor in them and packaging them, but also the care and attention. Like listening to you talking here, obviously it's your business, your background's in hospitality, but you've got a passion for making good coffee as well. So it's that love and attention that you guys offer in your coffee that potentially doesn't go into those, you know, those bigger off the shelf brands, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's what we're all about. And it always has to go back to the coffee. And whenever we do anything else in the business, you know, whether it's like our bakes or using other products, like we're just going on a bit of a journey and sourcing a really good quality chocolate for our shops. You know, it's making sure that when we're bringing something in, it hits those levels that our coffee does as well. So it's bringing everything up to standard. And you know, it's how I want to operate. It's how we want to be a business. We want to work with people who believe in similar things to us, and ultimately make a really good, positive difference across the global community we operate in.
With the line of work that you're in, and I take it you're always drinking your own coffee and, you know, and you're always trying out different, I don't know, maybe different roasts, maybe different product to see where you go next. Does it turn you into a bit of a coffee snob? Do you go and get a coffee from somewhere else and go, God, this just isn't the same, is it? Are you at the point, or are you at the point where you drink your coffee so much now that actually tasting a different coffee is quite nice?
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, there's so many great, like we're not the only ones who are roasting specialty coffee by any stretch, and there's so many other great roasters out there. And when we can, we will try coffee from others, and we've got a great community we're part of. But going out for a coffee on a kind of any high street is difficult because you've got to find the right place. Well, I have to find the right place to go. And if I'm a bit unsure about the coffee, I will probably have a tea. So that's just how it goes.
That is fair enough. Do you know what I really, really wanted you to do when I first turned around and right at the start of this interview and went coffee, you know, so you must love coffee. I was hoping you'd go, well, actually, I'm a tea drinker, but it's my business because it's just always just a fantastic spin. Now I'm working from home. I really want a coffee machine. because in our office, when we were going in the office, we've got a coffee machine there, and we used to buy every 6 to 8 weeks, like a different local coffee and have it in the machine, so we could mix it up and you know, we could support other local businesses and we could have nice coffee in the office. It's just not the same now. It's not the same having coffee at home, and it's also, there's a big difference between getting it like in a packet where it's already, so to speak, instant coffee, so it's ready just to go in with it, than it is to actually have the beans grind and the machine doing the job for you. So I'm desperate for a coffee machine at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can make really good coffee at home, and we've got some guides and stuff on our website to kind of teach people how to make good coffee at home, but it depends what you like. Like if you're after that coffee shop flat white experience, and that's quite difficult to get at home, even in the office, you know, your coffee machines and all the equipment that go with them are a massive faff. You know, they take a lot of cleaning.
Do you know, like 5 years ago, I didn't like coffee, and then like I had kids, and I needed coffee. There was a need for coffee, and I started drinking flat whites, as you were saying, because they're slightly more creamy and it's, so to speak, it a bit like when you put water in, you're cooking and you put water into like a curry paste or something, just to take that edge off a little bit. You know, I feel like the cream and the froth and the milk takes the edge off the coffee a little bit. But then I went through a whole phase where I was trying to really cut out as much stuff that I didn't need in my life as possible, so I took the milk away. Now I can't drink coffee with milk. I have to have an Americano. Like I have to have coffee as it comes black. Like I can't have it with milk, and then that's where you get the full experience of the flavors when it's there on its own. Still can't do an espresso, but I can do an Americano. So I have slightly gone coffee. I've started becoming a bit of a coffee snob.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that's great. You know, that's
but
what
when I
want.
need a caffeine kick, though, Luke, I'll have any coffee. Like literally,
fair enough,
when I need that caffeine kick. But I just, because obviously there you're talking about your hospitality background, and obviously we come back onto the Taste of Kent Awards and what they mean to you in just a second. What has the past 12 months been like? I think that's the only way I can phrase that question.
Absolutely. Well, the past 12 months has been mad, because we have had kind of the worst thing that could ever happen to any business in terms of retail and hospitality, is that you're told to close your doors and you don't know when they're going to reopen, which is just, you know, awful. So we obviously closed at the beginning of the first lockdown. We were closed for about 2.5 months, and then we reopened for takeaway. And that was a really nice moment, because we saw a lot of our regular customers returning to us. And then it kind of built and built, got busier and busier. Eventually we were able to let people sit in. We opened our new site in Margate, which has been a resounding success and really busy. And then we had like the madness of Eat Out to Help Out in August, where kind of everyone was scrambling to get in everywhere, and we were giving half-price coffee out all over the place. And then, you know, all that success and all that kind of enthusiasm, and we got to a point where we'd had a really great summer. And then there was just this kind of, here it goes again. Mm-hmm. And we kind of, when we ended up going into the November lockdown, we carried on doing takeaway. Then we obviously in the tier system after that. And then it got to kind of just after Christmas, and we went into the third lockdown, and we were like, you know what, we've got to close our shops again, because we could have stayed open for takeaway, but we just felt like it was the right thing to do at that stage for us. Everyone's different, but we thought across our sites that was the best thing to do. And that was a really horrible moment again, because it gives so much more uncertainty. But we stuck it through, and then we reopened at the beginning of March, and we're starting to build up again. So it's been tough in terms of retail hospitality. It's really hard. I think the next 6 months to a year to beyond is hard as well, because although there's kind of a roadmap, it's still kind of a little bit scary, because you don't quite know whether that's going to all come to fruition. But on the flip side, we've seen great success in our online sales. You know, our subscriptions. People just buying coffee online has done really well, and we've increased hugely in that sense. So that's been the kind of the nice thing. Obviously, on the counter of that, all of our wholesale customers are in the same situation as us, so they haven't been using so much coffee. So it's a weird one, and you know, it's been a hard year. It's been hard to kind of, I think, you know, what I love to do is plan and to know what's going to happen and to kind of be ready for the next thing. And to do that is very hard at the moment, because you don't know what the next thing is. But we're in a situation where our shops are back open, and it's good.
Yeah, and of course you mentioned there about the fact that you've got the three avenues to the business, so to speak. So you've got the online, you've got the subscription, you've got the shops, you've got the obviously the wholesale going into other cafes, and and we talk about online and businesses being able to pivot. Of course you can pivot, and of course you can go back to your through the door coffee in a package idea, and you can do the subscriptions, but for those subscriptions to make up the downfall of over 2/3 of your business it's impractical, isn't it? It's difficult, but what it does is it gives you an opportunity to maybe build on another avenue, which is exciting. It's in a different direction, and it can elevate the brand as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there was a moment, it happened the first lockdown, and also happened in this most recent one where, we had to put all of our staff on furlough. And there was this moment where I was just back to being in the roastery on my own. Usually we've got a team of about 20 people, so it's just back to me on my own. And it was like, oh my God, it's almost like back to the beginning again. Mm-hmm. It is exciting. I think the challenge, and so many other businesses going through this as well, is that, we built ourselves up to be a business of wholesale shops. And we always did the online, but we just kind of did it. We didn't really know how we were doing it, or we weren't really building it. And it's now, how do we kind of sustain that business? How do we build it going forward?
How do you grow it?
How do you grow it, and also reliance on things like social media and email marketing, and actually spending a bit of time on learning those things and how to make the most out of them, so we can sustain our business going forward. And means that if we are hit by any other things like this in the future, we've got a little bit more resilience to it.
I think, yeah, what you said there is completely spot on. And that's where I've seen a lot of Kent businesses that we're talking to that we are also working with. We're in that element where they've gone, well, we do it. We do online. But clearly doing online now, it's not good enough, so to speak. You've got to have some sort of shop window online to be able to grow like you would do if you have the cafes, if you're trying to have something there. And I think that's the exciting thing now for business owners. Like, they can pivot and they can have a look at having another way to function as a business through online means, because customers are there. And also we had a conversation with another business the other day where they've done the same, and they've recently opened up and they're doing takeaway, and they've seen people come to the takeaway to collect from the store, I say like that because that's what you call it, click and collect. Yeah. To collect their product and then have bought more food whilst they're and actually taking the food away. So that's secondary income as well, from people buying anyway from online and collecting it from there, and then buying from the takeaway. So it's just it's absolutely priceless, because you're then trebling your average order value, which is fantastic. And it's fantastic for the brand, and it's great to see you guys doing that. And you saying there, during the lockdown, having to put the hours in. And we had this conversation with Sebastian, the owner of Brisket and Barrel, the other day, when he was having to do the same, come up with new products to be able to launch products online. The fact now the Taste of Kent Awards are giving him some recognition. Business owners haven't had any recognition. They've just had to do the hard graft and the worrying for everyone over the past 12 months. Is it nice for you to get this Taste of Kent nomination? Is it that little silent pat on the back that potentially you wouldn't have got if it wasn't for the awards?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, any kind of award like this is great, because particularly for this one, this is for our Maypole blend, which has really been the heart of our business since we started. The Maypole blend is served in all our shops every day. It's what all of our wholesale customers take. It's our most popular product online. It's the one that, if you could choose a coffee for Garage Coffee, that's the one. And the other nice thing is, some of the farmers in Colombia, we actually met in January last year. So we've worked with farms year on year. We've built a product we're really proud of. We've always known it tasted really good, and we always get really great feedback on it, but that's all it's been, good feedback. So now to have a recognition like this is great, because it means not only we've been nominated for something that we believe is good, but also people have voted for it and they love it as well. So we're really proud of that.
Yeah, if I'll just quickly recap that for anyone who maybe might have missed it. Of course, Garage Coffee up for Kent Non-Alcoholic Drink of the Year in the Taste of Kent Awards this year. They are a finalist for their Maypole blend, alongside Lost Sheep Coffee's Get to the Hopper blend and Revive blend from Bean Smitten. Just reading there, obviously there are a lot of non-alcoholic drinks that are produced in Kent. Some are soft drinks, teas as well. There's some fantastic tea companies as well. But to see coffee dominating that category, like gin is dominating the spirit side of things, is that proud for you as well? Because the Kent industry is clearly booming at the moment.
Yeah, amazing. I mean, like this is, we want people to drink our coffee, of course, but equally speciality is all about this learning and that, like, those other roasters are using really good quality products. And that's that's great because we know that the people in Kent are responding to that well. And to be part of that community, a slight aside, we're also putting together the Kent Coffee Festival this year.
Yes, I'm there. Reserve my ticket.
And it's kind of credit to the fact that this is going on in Kent, and ultimately I think we've seen that 3 coffee people in this category, but how great would it be to have like a Kent Barista Championship, coffee competitions going forward? We should be celebrating these great roasters. There's 3 nominated here, but there's others, and you couldn't ask for much better recognition of that, really.
You mentioned some of the team earlier on. Obviously, it's been a tough year. I'm not expecting you to be able to or absolutely be able to name everyone right now because we've got limited time. But tell us a bit about some of the faces behind Garage Coffee.
Yeah, so I mean, within the business is myself and my wife Alice. So Alice looks after all of the training and HR bits. So she'll often go out on site and do the training side of things. Sam is our head of coffee. So Sam joined us in September last year.
What a role. Yeah. What a role. It's like being head of chocolate or dairy milk, isn't it?
Yeah,
head of coffee. Like, that's perfect.
Yeah, so Sam looks after day-to-day roasting. He'll run the quality control, make sure everything's tasting really good, and he'll do some kind of the wholesale work as well. We've got Rosie, who's our head of operations, and she looks after the day-to-day running of all the shops, making sure they're all operating well and fully staffed. And also my brother joined the team about a year ago to run the Margate site, but now he's moved on to a head of sales role. So he's responsible for making sure lots of people come and buy lots of coffee in our shops and building the sales across the board. So that's our core team. And then we're obviously supported by some fantastic assistant managers and baristas within the stores as well. And we've had some great people within the business over the last 5 years, and it's the hardest thing I think about running a business is when you have great people and then they leave or they go on to do other things. And we're always really supportive because 9 times out of 10 they're always going on to something else in a different direction, or they want to pursue something else, which is great, and it's great to see that development. But I mean, I couldn't do any of it without the fantastic team, and it's been really hard for them over the last year because we've come off, furloughed, and all the uncertainty, then coming back, then the flexible furlough, and all this kind of weirdness, operating in shops which are not anywhere near their usual levels in terms of volume. So being in there, sometimes alone, wearing masks, all this kind of rubbish stuff that we don't want to have to deal with. So, if we, this is a real kind of credit to them, and this award is for all the team if we do manage to win it.
I was actually going to say that. How would you feel? How would your team feel if you managed to pick up the award for Kent's non-alcoholic drink of the year?
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. I mean, it's great. I mean, we alluded to it earlier. Everyone in those categories is a deserving winner, and I think it would be a great thing for the team to achieve this award because they deserve it. They deserve that success, and we're desperate to celebrate something. We missed out on our Christmas party. We've missed out on so many things, so we're desperate to get back together and have a drink or 2 or 3 and enjoy it.
Well, Luke, best of luck to you. Best of luck to the team. Best of luck to everyone in the category as well. Of course, there's a little way to go to the virtual ceremony yet, but we're getting ready for it. Thank you for joining me, and thank you for telling us all about Garage Coffee.
Pleasure. Thank you very much.
Luke Underdown there, the owner of Garage Coffee. Sorry about that, my mic was muted. This is a Digital Beans and Taste of Kent Awards podcast, all part of our Scale Up Stories, of course, podcast platform where we talk to business owners about how they've scaled their business. And Luke at Garage Coffee is a fantastic Kent business owner, and his business has grown massively over the most recent years. He's gone from, from brewing the brewing process of his own coffee, roasting the coffee, selling it, in store and also in his own cafes too. I think he now has 3 cafes across Kent. Gary's Coffee. You can correct me if I've got that wrong, but also a fantastic online subscription offering. So if you're into your coffee, get online, check out Gary's Coffee for more information. And of course, for the Taste of Kent Awards this year, they're up for Kent Non-Alcoholic Drink of the Year alongside Bean Smitten and their Revive blend, and Lost Sheep Coffees Get to the Hopper blend. Of course, a Maypole blend from Gary's Coffee in there as well. We'll find out if they can take home the award, but Luke, they're very happy, of course, to be a finalist. Right, moving on to our second guest on today's podcast. Do you know what? I do a bit of work up in Medway, and if I often go for a run, I go for a run across by the dockside and right across the river, and I always run past Copper Rivet Distillery's fantastic distillery, I suppose we should call it. Their fantastic office, their fantastic base. There's a lot of history in that pump house, and I thought I'd start my chat with Stephen Russell, the director of Copper Rivet Distillery, around the premises and how they come to acquire such a beautiful place for Copper Rivet Distillery to call home.
I mean, completely serendipitous. Yeah, I'd love to be able to say it was by design, and we always plan for that. But as anyone who's in business knows, that's not how it works. And in this case, we were just very, very lucky. So we had been working for some time on plans to create a distillery. Originally, we were actually looking at a building in Fort Amherst, another sort of heritage site. And then we realized that for lots and lots of practical reasons, it wasn't going to work. We had set ourselves some, if you like, self-imposed deadlines, and we're coming under self-imposed time pressure to find a building. Looked at all sorts of different sites, even considered very, very briefly basing ourselves in Greenwich and London because we couldn't find anything. And then my brother Matthew, who also founded the business with me and my dad, was visiting Upnor Castle with his 3 young girls, having a picnic there. And Upnor Castle is directly opposite us here on the river, River Medway. And he saw this building and just thought to himself, well, wouldn't that make an amazing distillery? Mm-hmm. Then on the Monday, he drove around, had a look at it, and discovered that the building was for sale. So we went for it, and we set about trying to acquire the building. Which was then a whole other project in itself. But the building was originally a pump for the dockyard. So the marinas, if anyone knows Chatham Maritime Marina, was originally the docks, which would then be turned into dry docks, so they could work on the ships in the dockyard. And this building's job was to pump the water out of the dock to make it dry, and then pump it back in. And it had done that from 1873 when it was commissioned until the very early 80s, when, as we all know, those of us who are local know that the dockyard was shut down. So this building stood derelict from the early 80s until we moved in 2015.
Wow. I was going to say, did you know much about the history behind it? But you clearly do. And now with the distillery there as well, you can't say it's a dry docks anymore, can you? Look at that with Copper Rivet in there. Perfect. You teed me up for that joke, Stephen. You teed me up for that joke. But just look at it. It looks amazing. How I take it you had to do a lot of work in there. And through the years, you've done a lot of work to make sure that it can sustain, your business.
Yeah, it was, that's right. It was completely derelict. There was no floor. There was ground rather than floor. So to give you some idea, there was no water, no gas, no electric. The government had done a good job of keeping the roof in a fair state, but otherwise if you come and visit us, everything that is here, we have put here. We built it, and in many cases, this is a family business that is self-funded. We haven't got any kind of big rich backers behind us, and in many cases, it was my brother on a ladder screwing stuff in, or friends of ours laying the cement floors and so on and so forth. And in many ways we carried that through. So you can just see just there, you can see one of the stills, one of our 3 stills, and whereas most craft distilleries buy their stills from German manufacturers, or in the case of a whiskey still like that, from an amazing company called Forsyths in Scotland, we actually designed and made our stills ourselves using local craftsmen who are based in Chatham. We figured that this was once the site of some of the most amazing engineering in the world, in the history of the world, with the dockyard, and that inspired us a little bit to do what we often refer to as kind of one of the biggest DIY projects ever undertaken, and it continues. It's a bit like a sort of stately home. If you imagine owning a castle, and every time it rains, you've got like a new leak sprung from a roof, and there are buckets everywhere, and you have to get up there and fix it.
I'll definitely have to get you on for another podcast when we go, because obviously this is a special podcast in so to speak conjunction with Produced in Kent and the Taste of Kent Awards. So a lot of our conversation today is going to be around the Taste of Kent Awards and the food and drink industry. But on the normal podcast, it's usually called Scale Up Stories, and we talk to business owners across the Southeast about how they've scaled their business. And I suppose for you, one question I do want to quickly ask before we get onto the awards is, we go on and on that podcast about the key metrics people look at to determine how their business is scaled. And obviously scaling your business can mean a number of different things. It can mean turnover, of course, primarily, but then members of staff, the way you expand the business, different offices. I suppose for you, going out on that, I can see a little balcony area out there and looking at how that whole building has changed since 2015. It's just one little element from you to show how much, Copper Rivet Distillery has grown.
Yeah. So, one of the key metrics for us would obviously be the number of bottles that we produce of spirit. And, in the Taste of Kent Awards, it's Dockyard Gin, which is probably what we're best known for. But then I'm not sure whether you can see any actually, but obviously more recently, a lot of attention has been drawn to Masthouse Whiskey, which is our most recent product launch, and we've been waiting eagerly for years for that. And in that case, then we look at the number of casks that we can produce and lay down. But you're quite right. I mean, I can almost measure the change in, if you like, scale just by looking out of that window there and seeing how busy the floor is with, containers and casks and bottles and so on and so forth. And I think, we haven't had any visitors here since really 2019 for reasons that we all know, because we haven't been able to be open to visitors. But I think, visitors that came in 2019, if they were to come back from May, when we're allowed, hopefully, fingers crossed, to welcome visitors back, would see a very different distillery. It's a lot busier here. We're doing a lot more than we were even in 2019, which is great.
Yeah, 100%. And you can tell that as well just by going through to your website and looking at what you're doing, and you're always trying new things. As you said, you're looking to evolve the business too. I'm hopefully, everything goes well with COVID and the regulations, in June, I'm going up to see my my dad and his missus. And every time we go up there, which we haven't been now for a year, but before then, my dad's a big beer drinker. I'd always take him up some local beers to go, look, this is what's out there in Kent, here's some local beers. And his wife Angie's a massive gin drinker, and I can't remember what gin I took her last time, but this time I said to her, I'm going to bring you up some Copper Rivet gin, because the Dockside gin, as you said, I've drunk a fair few glasses during lockdown, I'm not going to lie, but I'm in two minds as to whether to go for the Dockside gin, which is obviously the tried and tested, you know, the proper gin, the way to, you know, get that local flavour, or to go for the Kent strawberry one, because I love that collaboration. I love the fact it's something a little bit different. We'll be in June, it's summertime as well, so I'm toying with myself at the moment. But when it comes to new products with you guys, is local collaboration a real big thing for you? Of course, your gin, Dockside gin, named after where you are. The Kent strawberry gin obviously speaks for itself. So are you looking at different ways to collaborate with your gins moving forward, and what's the future looking like?
Yeah, you've hit the nail on the head. One of the things that is, if you like, different and special about what we do is that provenance and where our ingredients come from is absolutely key for us. So, you know, we are one of probably only less than 5 distilleries in the whole country that make our spirit from grains that are farmed for us. So we are farm to glass distillery, and that is something that's very, very rare even in whiskey actually, but especially in gin. So for us, when it comes to you know, new product development or new flavors, fresh Kent strawberry gin being one, the ability to have traceability and local produce paired with our gin made from locally grown grains is absolutely critical, because that is basically our raison d'etre, is to make products that are traceable back to where they were grown. And that's also the case for our Damson gin. You know, for us, there always has to be a reason why we would depart from Dockyard gin and Damson's. Lots of people will, I'm sure, know that they were brought to the UK by the Romans. The Romans obviously landed in Kent first, and Damson's have this great sort of dual role in that they make amazing hedges, which create good protective boundaries, and they produce fruit. And they therefore took hold in Kent. And just up the river from us here in Strood is the first recorded Damson trading post. So for us, when we came to do our take on sloe gin, it was you know, it has to be Damson's. And similar for the strawberries. I mean, you know, we just grow the most amazing strawberries here, and partnering with a local farm to use fresh strawberries to perfume our gin is, you know, again, was obvious that would be our take on the, if you like, the pink gin craze.
Do you know what, traceability, it's really interesting that you've just used that wording, because we've had Luke from Garage Coffee on before this, who are up for non-alcoholic beverage of the year, just slightly different name, drink of the year, and their coffee's up for that, and it's saying exactly the same. Traceability and, you know, and representing the local county, it's a big thing for him, and you know, they want to know where that bean has been from the very first moment it was farmed to the moment it's then within the shop or being sent through a subscription service. And it's really interesting that we're talking to two very different you know, business owners in terms of, you know, your product and potentially people who buy it, but it's the same ethos around it, and especially as a local business. And I said it to him, I come back to it again, it's part of that love and attention that gets put into your products as a local business, and there's others in the local food and drink industry out there within Kent that puts it miles apart from anything else you pull off the shelf, because that's what makes it taste different. That's what makes it an experience of having that product than, so to speak, just consuming it. And I think that's why we're going to see people shopping local more and more and more, because again, it's an experience, and I think that's really, really important now for the local food and drink industry. And I suppose for you as well, Stephen, like the cool thing about being nominated for a Taste of Kent award, and I've said this to a couple of other business owners, you don't regularly get a pat on the back for doing your job, and I suppose this is a little pat on the back for you.
It's really nice, actually. I think one of the things that's really great about the Taste of Kent awards is that you know, the nomination's completely organic, right? So, you know, you're nominated by people that love, you know, I presume love what you do, and then other people from the community also follow on and vote. And I think that's really special. There are so many awards out there for spirit makers and makers of gin and so on and so forth, that are judge-led, and you self-nominate, and you put your product in, and then judges decide, and those are very, very different. And it's actually there is actually a real difference. We've actually made Dockyard Gin very specifically to be loved by consumers, and you can actually, in order to win, let's say, judge-led awards, you need to make a drink that is loved by judges. And those things that are loved by judges are not always the same as those things that are loved by consumers. You know, judges might like, you know, they're tasting hundreds and hundreds of different spirits, and they might only choose one that really stands out for very maybe unusual reasons. Whereas being nominated by people that just enjoy your product because they enjoy your product and they enjoy it enough to then nominate you and follow on with a nomination is really, really nice, very special.
And you say that the Dockyard Gin, that is the gin that is up for the Kent Spirit of the Year. Of course, your finalists, Copper Rivet Distillery, alongside Anno Kent Dry Gin from Anno Distillers. Again, a fantastic gin. And George Bishop London Dry Gin from Maystone Distillery as well. They're the finalists in this year's Kent Spirit of the Year. What does this say to you, Stephen, about gin at the moment? We said this at the very start when me and Floria had the conversation about these categories. It was interesting to see that the non-alcoholic drink of the year was very much coffee dominated, and the Kent Spirit of the Year is very much gin nominated. Does this mean now gin isn't a trend? Gin is actually a spirit that the masses are loving?
Yeah, I mean, I think you know, gin has got its place, and for very good reason. You know, I've often been asked, you know, why do you think, you know, gin is, you know, as popular as it is, and why is its popularity growing so much? Now, I don't really have any more insight than anybody else. Obviously, you know, I don't know what's going on inside everyone's mind. Although I have been asked the question so many times, I've sort of thought about it a little bit. And I think it's, you know, it's just such a great spirit that it's so versatile, and you know, thanks to the tonic companies like Fever Tree, and you know, there's some amazing you know, there's some amazing other tonics out there with all the different flavors that they provide that complement gins. You know, you can really experiment. It's almost like having a kind of a different cocktail at home, you know, and we all know you can add a different garnish. You know, you have different perfumes with the gins, or whether it's a strawberry gin, or you know, Anna's got, you know, the pink berry version. You know, there's a lot of versatility, lots of variety, and I think it's going to be a while before people are bored of that. I think it's, you know, almost a spirit staple.
It can almost be a cocktail without being a cocktail sometimes as well, gin. It's very enjoyable to drink, and also the experience. I mentioned experience earlier on. It's quite funny. For Christmas, I got this infusion set for gin, for gins, and it's literally like a tea bag. So you pour the gin out, your couple of shots or whatever it is. We free pour. It's And then you put the drink sensibly, kids. You then put the infusion tea bag in there, let it sit for 10 minutes, and then add your tonic, and the flavor is absolutely outrageous. But the best thing is it doesn't mask the taste of the gin. Though I find sometimes when you can get flavored gins, you lose the taste of what an actual gin is within those flavorings. Like I tried this like fizzy Coca-Cola gin the other day, and it tasted nothing like a gin. It was not nice. But with these infusion things, you can still taste that it's gin, but you get a nice little infusion and taste there as well. So there's things you can do with gins, I think, that make it an enjoyable experience. But I think you're right. I think, at one point, gins was a trend. It was like a crazy trend that people were getting on, and it became then fashionable. But I think now it's a consumer drink. I think people have found that there's so many ways to drink it that the market can be huge. And in the Kent gin industry, you must be proud of, Stephen, is growing and growing and growing. That's great for everyone involved.
Yeah, I think so. Exactly. I mean, it is a vibrant sector. I think local gins. It's good and vibrant, and it's great to see our hospitality partners embrace that, and people when they go out eventually. When they go out to hospitality again, will have a choice of a number of local gins, which is fantastic.
Yeah, 100%. A couple of questions just before we wrap up. Tell us, I know you can't name everyone, but just a few of the faces behind your team there at Rivet Distillery.
Well, obviously my brother Matthew Russell, my dad Bob Russell. And then, of course, incredibly importantly, Abby Bannock, who's our head distiller. I guess core team there.
It must be a tough job, quality control that for Abby. She must enjoy it, but her slurring her words at the end of the day must be a bit tough for you, Stephen.
Well, I would just say Abby's a boy.
Sorry. He must be.
Although I'm sure after a few of his gins and some of his whiskey, maybe he'll. I said earlier on. When I had Luke on, he was telling us about their head of coffee. I was like, that's like having like the head of chocolate at Cadbury's, isn't it? What a job! What a job! Yeah. No, he's. We're very lucky, to be in a team with him. He's got an extraordinary palate, as well as being, an amazing engineer. Actually, I mean, he designed and built all the equipment you can see behind me, which is pretty unusual, and is also a great person to have a drink at the end of the day with.
That's incredible. So he's been at the company. Have you got quite a few people who have been with Rivet throughout the whole journey, so to speak? And again, it's that thing, isn't it? You're still, a local business. There's a lot of hands on pump, so to speak, and there's a number of different areas which people have to have a look at and help out with the business.
Yeah, it's a very local business, and I mean, Abby's been part of the team since before it was even a business, before we found this building, designing and working away. He's really part of the family, extended family. And then, we're very lucky. We've got a very committed team. I think, being in this building, being part of this project, the heritage, the history, the industry is very convivial. It's great fun to be in. It's hard work, but it's good fun. So it is a team that we've been together a decent length of time. Almost everybody is local, and if they're not originally local, good number of people come from the universities. We're really lucky here in Medway. We've got 3 university campuses. And actually the focus of those university campuses is sort of science and engineering, which suits us really well. So we tend to tend to get our graduates into the brewing and distilling team from the local university, which is really, really good. I just think we're really lucky to be here in Kent. I mean, Garden of England is one thing, and it's amazing for us to be able to grow all of our core ingredients. 98.2% of what is in Dockyard Gin is grown in Kent. But also that we've got these universities, we've got a lot of amazing young talent that we're able to tap into, which is brilliant. And do you know what? A couple of people have spent a couple of years, learned the trade, and then have gone off to other distilleries, one overseas in Spain, and that's brilliant as well, because it kind of helped put Kent on the map.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. And you know what's nice, Stephen? It's nice not just to hear your passion for your business, your passion for the gin, but also your passion for the local economy and local people. I think that's really nice when, as a business owner and as someone here who's employed by someone who's very similar, it's not just about your business, it's also about what more can you do? What more is there out there, and what more can you do to help local people? And I think that's absolutely amazing. But of course, we're here today because of the Taste of Kent Awards. So how nice would it be for you and your team to pick up that award? You're the finalist, you got the recognition, but to go that next step and win it.
It'd be brilliant. It would be brilliant. And, brilliant for two reasons. Number one, because, as I already mentioned, we're only finalists because people in Kent who have enjoyed our products have nominated us. But also, as you've already mentioned, Ben, the competition's stiff. It's the other finalists are making great products and doing a great job too. So
I've got to say, I think this is one of the most packed categories there is. As you said, there's big competition, and it's fantastic that it's all gin as well, because that's what makes it even more difficult, I think. But some fantastic finalists who we have to congratulate and say good luck to everyone. Stephen, I could chat to you for hours. Thank you so much for this. We'll have to do it again at some point so we can talk more about the business. And best of luck to you and your team as well in the Kent Spirit of the Year award for the Taste of Kent Awards this year. Fingers crossed you can bring it back on the night.
It'll be great. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, Stephen. Stephen Russell there, director at Copper Rivet Distillery. So good chatting to him. So good chatting to Stephen. And hopefully we'll be able to do another Scale Up Stories with him after that virtual awards ceremony. I think it's early May, isn't it? Two fantastic guests today. Luke Underdown, the Garage Coffee. Listen back for that. Watch back for that, depending on what platform you are using right now. And there, Stephen Russell, Copper Rivet Distillery, who are, of course, in the Taste of Kent Awards this year, category Kent Spirit of the Year, alongside Anno Distillers Anno Kent Dry Gin and George Bishop London Dry Gin by Maystone Distillery. Best of luck there to Copper Rivet Distillery for their Dockyard Gin and everyone else who are finalists within those categories as well. That's all from me today. We'll be back next Thursday with two more great guests chatting all about what it means to them to be a part of the Taste of Kent Awards and to find out a little bit more about their business. Ciao for now. Stay safe, everyone.